Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Chiranjit Mishra and today I'm going to discuss the news today, February 23rd. There are 13 news items, 5 main news, 7 quick updates and 1 place in the news. The place in the news today is Cuba, one of the main countries in the Caribbean Sea region. Okay, so let's first quickly go through the news titles, then we can start discussing each news item one by one. So the first main news is India-Brazil trade deal. Both countries have aimed to double their trade volume, currently which is close to $15 billion. They want to take it up to $30 billion. The second news is related to art and culture part of GS paper 1 and also important from the point of view of UPSC prelims. It's about Hoysala heritage, the links between the Hoysala Karnataka and the Tamilakam during the 13th or 14th century AD. Okay. The third main news is about AI Impact Summit, at which New Delhi Declaration was adopted by 87 countries. There are 7 pillars we will discuss one by one. The next news is about the inauguration of the first Namo Bharat regional rapid transport system by Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi, so that cities close to New Delhi or Delhi can be interconnected. The last news is about the United States removal of core radiation safety rule, and which has created concerns among many global experts. The quick updates, the first one is about IBBI, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board. This is related to sharing of details by IBBI with Enforcement Directorate. The second is about the conclusion of Winter Olympics, which was held in Italy. Third is about very good news for all the Indians. Boong, the name of a Manipuri film, which has been awarded the prestigious BAFTA award in the category of children and family films. The next quick update is about a new access pass which will be given to deep sea fish explorers who can easily fish in the EEZ, that is Economic Exclusive Zone, beyond the territorial waters. Next is about the Health Minister's unveiling of the indigenous tetanus and diphtheria vaccine. Again, it's an indigenous production, so right step in the direction of Atmanirbharta. Next, World Pangolin Day, and as you know, pangolin is one of the most trafficked species. That's why the Indian pangolin is actually endangered and Chinese pangolin is critically endangered. Pangolin is trafficked and poached for its scales and meat. Next news is about the development of fluorescent proteins which can serve as quantum sensors within human body. So they can track very small to small developments, positive or negative, which are very difficult to detect using normal microscopes. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the place in the news today is Cuba. Now let's begin with the first news, okay? Which is again, because several trade deals are being signed and 2 important trade deals have been signed on the sidelines of the AI India Impact Summit. First one was with France, okay? Now it's with Brazil. So Brazil is very important for India as a partner because both represent the global south. Brazil is the biggest country in the South American continent. Of the 12 countries in South America, Brazil is the biggest and the most significant, and the leading producers of many crops and minerals. So definitely this trade deal means a lot for both the countries. And both countries have one more common context: the imposition of United States tariff. Okay. Now this is a very dynamic topic about the tariff system and the imposition of the tariffs by the United States, because the Supreme Court has also intervened. But that will be covered in a different news. Let's focus on this India-Brazil news. They have so much in common. First, as I said, both represent the global south. Okay, global south means all the countries not below the equator. All those countries which are emerging, developing or underdeveloped part of the world. Global north refers to the west, which is led by the United States and European countries. Global south means countries like India, Brazil and South Africa. Okay. So now the trade deal aims at taking up the trade volume to $30 billion. Okay, $30 billion. Currently it is $15 billion. The trade volume between India and Brazil. Okay. Last year, when Honorable Prime Minister Modi and President Lula da Silva of Brazil met, they had set the target of $20 billion. $20 billion. अभी वो टारगेट को they have raised it to $30 billion. 10 agreements have been signed. Let's quickly go through what are they. And we'll also go through the highlights as regards the relation between India and Brazil, how the diplomatic relationship started in 1948, soon after India got independent. Okay. That's all about, not much to understand, but plenty of points to remember. Okay, and it can be asked in the prelims exam also, because Brazil, the India-Brazil trade relations have not yet been covered in UPSC CSE prelims, but statements and facts consisting of this particular name Brazil have been featured, have been asked several times in the UPSC CSE prelims. As I mentioned in the beginning, the target is $30 billion, and that too by 2030, in the next 5 years. Okay, 2030 tak $30 billion. 10 agreements across several fields, starting from MSMEs, rare earth elements, okay, critical minerals and everything, RE, critical minerals. See, you can see all the global agreements that India is trying to reach. One of the core points of that is related to REE and critical minerals. Recently, India also joined Pax Silica, okay? That means silicon-based partnership across the world. Because critical minerals are actually the most important buzzword. They're closely related to artificial intelligence, because we have to create proper computing power and compute infrastructure. For that, India needs REs and also electronic vehicles. India needs not just lithium, but also cobalt and nickel. Digital cooperation, this is another important joint declaration, because that means, just like in the last couple of days ago we covered, that there are many countries which have accepted the Indian payment system, which is called BHIM or UPI. So maybe this Brazil is also going to accept it. And it's not just about digital payment ecosystem, cyber security, artificial intelligence, okay? So this point is very important, digital cooperation. Visa validity, up till now 5 years visa validity was there. Now they're going to increase it to 10 years. So 5 years se 10 saal बढ़ गया for tourists, businessmen and other education purposes. That means if you get a visa to travel Brazil, earlier that visa once sanctioned or approved was valid for 5 years. Now they have increased it to 10 years. इतना नहीं मिलता, यूरोप जाओगे तो 1-1.5 महीने के लिए मिलता मैक्सिमम नॉर्मल टूरिस्ट को. Okay, so 10 years is actually, that means for 120 months. Nations reaffirm strong strategic bilateral partnerships. Okay. So let's go through the highlights. Diplomatic relations, as I mentioned, started in 1948. Then strategic partnership formally upgraded in 2006. Okay, so this is a nice timeline. If at all a question is asked about the relationship between the leading countries of global south, you can mention these points in your mains question. Okay, India, Brazil, they have strategic partnership. They started as diplomatic partners, normal establishment of consulates and embassies, but it was upgraded to strategic partnership. Now active cooperation in BRICS, G20, UN platforms, also IPSA, India, Brazil, South Africa. Okay, this is again, this is a subset of BRICS, because all these 3 countries, India, Brazil, South Africa, are part of BRICS. But the special thing about this partnership is all the 3 partners are democratic countries, unlike China and Russia. Okay, but BRICS is more important as it focuses upon the economic cooperation of the 5 partners. Now it has 11 members, 5 plus 6. Okay. While IPSA focuses upon socio-economic cooperation, and also furthering the democratic setups in the 3 countries. There is one more partnership also, BASIC. Okay, it focuses on climate change and all that. So there are so many forums of which India and Brazil are part. Now let's quickly go through a question asked in 2020, not exactly about India, Brazil, but about G20, of which both the countries are important part. Earlier it was G20, now it's G20 plus G21. African Union has been added as a new member. So in which of the following groups are all the 4 countries members of G20? So, okay, let's quickly go through. It's an objective question. Argentina, Mexico, South Africa, Turkey. This is the answer actually first, because in second point you can see Malaysia is not a part, New Zealand is not a part, Vietnam is not a part in option C, Iran is also not a part. Option D mein, Singapore is not a part, although it's one of the important economies, and as per Henley Passport Index, it has the strongest passport in the world, but still it is not one of the 21 members of G20. Okay, so इसका आंसर है A. In 2025 में another question related to which sits in between international relations and geography. A map-based question was asked. Andes Mountains pass through how many of the above countries? Before solving this question, let me tell you, so many countries are in the news. South America and Central America. Okay, as we are going to discuss Cuba, Venezuela. Okay. Next, Brazil. Argentina is also important. Okay. So these countries, they're part of, they're called Latin American countries. Okay. So that is a different classification. Latin American countries are those countries which have official languages as many Latin-derived languages: French, Spanish, Portuguese. Mostly Spanish, and then Portuguese, which is spoken in Brazil. So ये question अगर हम देख लें, so please go through this particular region. Many questions can be asked. Tropic of Capricorn किस-किस countries में pass करता है? Okay. Please focus on this particular region for this year. It's very important. Andes Mountains, which is the longest mountain range, passes through which of the above countries? Actually, except Brazil, it passes through all the other countries. Okay. तो आप देख सकते हैं how many countries? 5. So answer is 5. All other countries it passes through. Okay. Second main news is very special. Actually, most of the news that we covered in news today are related to GS paper 2 or 3. Rarely GS paper 1. Okay. So this theme is very important because UPSC has asked about Hoysalas twice. And Hoysala, the empire actually flourished in southern Karnataka. Southern Karnataka में flourish हुआ. Okay. Very close to the modern day Tamil Nadu. Okay. Bangalore region के पास. And it was part of the Mysore Empire also later. So Mandya inscription, Mandya is actually a district located in the southern Karnataka. अगर कर्नाटका हम कुछ roughly ऐसे बनाएं, and यहाँ से आपका तमिलनाडु स्टार्ट होता है, ये इस रीजन में है. Okay, this is your west coast Karnataka, this is your Mandya region. There are several temples which fall under Vesara architecture. They were constructed by the Hoysala rulers. And recently one inscription has been found in a temple called Sri Mahalakshmi temple. Sri Mahalakshmi temple built by one of the Hoysala rulers. I think Narsimha one, I'm not sure, but you have to focus on Mahalakshmi temple. And there was a marble slab in which there is an inscription in which 3 languages have been used. Kannada, let me clear this up. Number 1, Kannada. 2, Tamil or Tamil, and 3, Sanskrit. So that shows that Hoysala Empire, although present in modern day Karnataka, had definitely strong links, what can be called the ancient Tamil Nadu or Tamilakam, okay, which is actually Tamilakam. Because of the ongoing Kaveri dispute between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, and there are also bones of contention, it is a good sign. That means there is a strong cultural linkage between the 2 regions, ancient Tamil Nadu and southern Karnataka or the whole of Karnataka. Okay? Because the inscriptions have been written in Kannada and Tamil, and many patrons of different architectural parts of the temple were also from Tamil Nadu, although the temples are located in Karnataka. So that shows that Kannada people and Tamil Nadu people, they have strong cultural links. Okay? So now, because this theme could have been easily covered in quick updates, but Hoysala has been a favorite topic, one of the many favorite topics of UPSC. 2 बार पूछा जा चुका है, मेंस में भी पूछा जा सकता है और एक बार. Okay? प्रीलिम्स में तो आ ही चुका है बहुत बार. Let's focus the capital of Hoysala. There are 2 capitals, one at Belur and then Halebidu, which is present day Dwar Samudra. Okay? So let's start 10 to 14th century. Proper like 11 to 14, you can say, after around, it began in somewhere around close to 900 something AD, but proper हो गया 1000 something AD में start हो गया था. And the Hoysalas started as feudatories. That means lower lords of Western Ganga dynasty. There were 2 Ganga dynasty, Eastern and Western. Eastern Ganga dynasty ruled over Odisha and northern Andhra, but Western Ganga dynasty ruled over Karnataka region. So Hoysala started under the Western Ganga dynasties. Okay? And they had 2 capitals. It's better if I write it. Western Ganga dynasty के under they started as lower lords or vassals. Okay, they owed allegiance to the rulers of Western Ganga dynasty, and they had initial capital at Bellur. Then they shifted it to Halebidu, which is also known as Dwar Samudra. Founder was Nripakama. There was also a very important question, although not about Hoysalas, rulers, sorry, kingdom, dynasties and founders. ऐसा पूछा था यूपीएससी ने पहले. एक साइड में dynasties, एक साइड में rulers. Peer based question. So please try to remember as much as possible. So in this case, the founder was Nripakama II, who founded the dynasty. Administration, as you can see, Nadus, just like Tamil Nadu, the broadest level of classification. Then came Kampanas, Vishayas, and Deshas, the smallest unit. Okay. And one more question was asked related to UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And recent that time, I think Shantiniketan and the sacred ensembles of the Hoysalas, they were granted UNESCO World Heritage Sites status. Okay. So ensembles means sacred ensembles. That means a group of similar things. Here in this case, sacred ensembles means a group of 3 temples. Ensemble, you must have seen in movies, an ensemble cast. That means several characters sharing the screen space, equal screen space time. Okay. So this ensemble में क्या था? Chena Keshav temple and Hoysalasura temple. These are the 3 temples which come under the sacred ensembles, which were given overall the status of UNESCO World Heritage Site. Okay. It's absolutely factual, and as you know, although the Chalukyans started the Western Chalukyans started the Vesara architecture, they were refined by Rashtrakutas and Hoysalas. Okay. Vesara started by Western Chalukyas, or the Chalukyas of Badami or Vatapi. But they were refined by, ये start किए थे Western Chalukyas, refined by your Rashtrakuta and Hoysalas. What are the salient features of Vesara architecture? Vesara means mule. And mules are, you know, a hybrid of horses and donkeys. That means, in this case, Vesara means a hybrid of Nagar style and your Dravidian style temples. Okay. Strong features of the Bhumija Shikhara, which is derived from the northern style of architecture, and then the temples followed a stellate, star type pattern. Okay. Materials used as soapstone, which is a very soft metamorphic rock, easy to carve. And another important name for soapstone is steatite, जो हम Harappan civilization के case में पढ़ते हैं, Indus Valley civilization. Okay. These are metamorphic rocks, very soft metamorphic rocks, on which carvings can be done easily. And the different types of shrines of the temples constructed by Hoysalas are Ekakut, that means single tower, 2 towers, 3 tower, and Panchakut, that means 5 tower, which is very rare. The first 3 kutas are very common. Okay. Question was asked in prelims 2024. Consider the following properties included in the World Heritage List released by UNESCO: Shantiniketan, Rani Ki Vav, sacred ensembles of the Hoysalas, and Mahabodhi temple complex at Bodh Gaya. How many of the above properties were included in 2023? That means all are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, but particularly 2023 में कौन-कौन include हुए थे? So this is a very, very factual question. Sometimes such questions are asked in the state PCS exam. Okay, you have to precisely remember the years in which the status was granted. In this case, I think Rani Ki Vav was 2014 around. Mahabodhi was 10 years ago, 2014 or 15. Shantiniketan, yes, and sacred ensembles. So only 2. Option B is the correct answer. Okay. Another question related to chronology, not chronology. How many of the above dynasties established their kingdoms in early 8th century AD? Very factual and very difficult. Normally we skip this part. 8th century sits between ancient India and medieval India. Okay. Or we can say late ancient or early medieval, जहाँ पे tripartite struggle started. But all these dynasties actually were formed much later. Hoysalas, as we studied, they started in the between 10th to 14th, they existed. Gahadawala, they were contemporaries of your the Muhammad Ghori and other Rajput rulers, Prithviraj Chauhan. Okay, so ये भी आ गया 11th 12th centuries, maybe थोड़ा बहुत 13th. Kakatiyas again 12th to 14th. they coexisted with Delhi Sultanate. Yadav also after, I think, 9th century, not 8th, 9th to 12th century. Okay. So all the dynasties, they formed much later. So answer is none. Very difficult question. Okay. So if you're reading a book like R.S. Sharma, and you have read the complete book, it's my advice to go through the important facts again. So there is no point in just reading if you don't want to memorize facts. The third news is about something very scary and concerning. There are safety standards as regards using nuclear power. Because you know, nuclear fuels, they emit harmful radiations. And what if a country lowers the safety standards? Even though we know perfectly well that even a small dose of radiation is harmful, very small dose. And this is based on a principle which is called linear no threshold. It means no dose of radiation is less harmful or harmless. Even a small dose of radiation is harmful. Unlike we say, in a liquid like water, we measure the amount of dissolved solid impurities. We say, itna impurities chal jayega in water. Okay? That means we can allow a threshold. But in the case of nuclear radiation, there is no threshold. Even a small dose of radiation, normally we follow a unit which is called, I think, sievert. Okay? SV. So even 0.001 SV is harmful. That means there is no threshold. And this principle is called linear no threshold. Okay? This is a scientific concept. And on this scientific concept was created another concept related to nuclear safeguard, which is called ALARA. ALARA, again it's an acronym. ALARA के हिसाब से as low as reasonably achievable. So we all know that it's impossible to create a plant or a nuclear power station in which there is no exposure to radiation. It's not possible. But that exposure can be kept as minimum as possible. कितना minimum हो सकता है? To create such safeguards, a lot of money is required. Because radiation can penetrate through most of the things. Even gamma rays can easily penetrate through this thick walls. So we need proper infrastructure. Okay? Please go through these two abbreviations. We'll cover them later also. LNT, linear no threshold. That means even a small dose of radiation is harmful. And on this principle was created ALARA. Okay? As low as reasonably achievable. This is the full form of the acronym. ALARA. Okay? So, if you want to create proper infrastructure to raise safeguards, you have to use concrete, lead, heavy material. And that needs a lot of investment. Itna mota lead width. The walls have to be this thick and not just made of any material but concrete and lead. That requires a lot of money. So the cost to generate power using nuclear sources increases. Okay? So that is again, cost becomes a hindrance, an obstacle in the way of creating solid infrastructure. That is why to reduce cost, कि इतना हम क्यों करेंगे? The United States government, Department of Energy ने वो ALARA principle हटा दिया. That means, as per ALARA, jitna ho sake, whatever amount is possible, we have to invest so that we can create proper safeguards, so that harmful radiations can be stopped. But there was a cost involved. So as per Department of Energy, we are going to remove that threshold. Okay, we will do only if there is a high risk. We'll try to create proper infrastructure, otherwise we'll skip that. So this is what the news is all about. They have lowered the safety standards, which is not a good step. Okay. But because India also follows the global standards, India is very particular about the safety safeguards as regards producing power using nuclear fuels. Okay. So if these terms are asked in a prelims exam, ki ALARA and LNT are related to which of the following? You will see safeguards related to nuclear power. The US Department of Energy removed the ALARA principle from its regulation. Okay? As I mentioned in the beginning, the change indicates a move towards a risk-informed, efficiency-focused regulatory model. You may think this is something good. Efficiency-focused. Why? Efficiency is calculated by output per input. The formula for calculating efficiency. If input is high, efficiency comes down. And input में आता क्या है? All sorts of cost. And one such cost was creating proper infrastructure. If we reduce the infrastructure cost, then our efficiency improves. So that is what this line says. Mathematically or profit-wise, it is good. But when it comes to safety, this is not a good step. Eliminating ALARA may increase worker exposure by removing the push to keep doses far below legal limits. There are certain legal limits. Legal limits बोलता है, there is a unit using which we measure radiation, MSV. Okay. Legal limit बताता है कि 20 MSV millisieverts per year. That means 100 millisieverts per 5 years. Normally we calculate it for 5 years, then we reach the average. If 100 by 5, then 20 per 1 year. But this is also not safe, but this is the legal limit. Countries are advised to keep their thresholds much below 20 per year. India keeps it at, I think, 2 or 4 MSV. Although the legal limit is 20. Legal limit 20 matlab ye nahi ki you have to reach or you can allow exposure till this level. You have to keep your thresholds even below, even low. Okay? Just to put it into better perspective, I can say, if you undergo a chest X-ray, there is radiation used, X-rays type of radiation, उसमें use होता है आपका 0.1 MSV. That means you can have nearly 200 X-rays per year as per the legal limit. Okay, theoretically speaking, 200 chest X-rays. उससे ज़्यादा करोगे तो it's harmful. Okay, because one single chest X-ray involves 0.1 MSV. And the legal limit is 20 MSV. 20 divided by 0.1, 200. Okay. Foundations of radiation protection ये था, ALARA and LNT. And what are the global radiation safety rules? For example, there are different atomic energy agencies involved. One is your IAEA. A question was asked on this. International Atomic Energy Agency. And then one more was there, I think, International Commission for Radiological Protection, ISRP. They follow these principles. And they expect other countries to frame their rules following ALRA, ALARA and LNT. India also does that. So, okay, India also does that. India's Atomic Energy Regulatory Board strictly applies ALARA in all nuclear facilities. Indian rules adopted the ICRP, which is International Commission for Radiological Protection, recommendations fully in both philosophy and practice. Okay. In 2020, so the entire news is about the dropping of this important piece of provision in the nuclear safety related rules by the United States, not across the globe. A question was asked about, in India, why are some nuclear reactors kept under IAEA safeguards while others are not? Some use uranium and others use thorium. So far we have not used thorium, this is wrong. Some use imported uranium and others use domestic supplies. Yes, because India imports uranium from countries like Kazakhstan, okay, I think Russia. So you have to subject your facilities to the supervision of IAEA. That is the answer, okay. Your next piece of, the next important news, which is your regional rapid transport system. India has inaugurated this project, which is called Namo Bharat, okay, and it is going to connect the cities nearby Delhi. We already have normal trains, we already have metro trains. How is it different? Now let's just try to understand. Metro trains, they are actually intra-city, city के अंदर. या फिर maybe the very few parts of other city. The entire Delhi metro covers the whole of Delhi, and maybe some other nearby cities like Gurgaon, Noida, okay, but not the entire region surrounding Delhi. This is primarily intracity, and the speed of the metro trains is also not very high. Similarly, trains क्या करते हैं? They have dedicated tracks on which trains run. Speeds are very low, and also you know that the Indian Railways suffers from several challenges. Now, because the urban population is growing, many people are planning to come to Delhi, especially from the nearby areas. There is going to be a lot of congestion, growing traffic, growing pollution. That is why we need such a system. For example, somebody who lives in Gurgaon, Faridabad, or maybe Jaipur, not just in Gurgaon, Faridabad, Jaipur, say Alwar, or say Sonipat or Panipat, they don't have to shift to Delhi anymore. Okay? We have different nodes. People from all these faraway places, they can travel or commute Delhi, because such a transport network is being planned, which is called Namo Bharat, and RRTS means Regional Rapid Transport System. These trains can run at nearly 180 km/h. So even if a place is say 270 or 300 kilometers away, he can reach Delhi in 1 to 1.5 hours. Daily आना जाना भी कर सकता है, सुबह 8 बजे निकलो, you can reach here by 10 o'clock, then back to your home. So metro is not capable to deliver this quality service. That's why we need a rapid transport system. And this project is called Namo Bharat. Okay, that's it. PM inaugurated India's first Namo Bharat RRTS, enhances seamless regional and intracity connectivity. Regional and intracity both. That because when you take a metro train, there are a number of stoppages. There are nearly between, say, Gurgaon route, if you take the Delhi metro, 20 to 25 or 30 stoppages. But these trains will have very few stoppages, 3 to 4. Okay? Because that way you can reduce the time taken to move from point A to point B. Enhances seamless regional and intracity connectivity, connects NCR cities efficiently with rapid travel. Namo Bharat RRTS semi-high-speed rail system up to 180 km/h. Longer distance travel, fewer stops than metro. These are the important points you can note down. Fewer stops, longer distance, okay, faster than trains, and dedicated high-frequency corridor. They are not going to use the metro tracks or the railway tracks. Cross, no, ये भी use नहीं करेंगे, ना ही train tracks, railway tracks. They'll have dedicated tracks, okay. Implemented by NCRTC. So NCRTC is an entity which will consist of the central government, because without the involvement of central government, there may be conflicts between the state governments and several state governments like UP government, Haryana government, Rajasthan government, okay. Or maybe if Dehradun is also included, then Uttarakhand government. So it's a joint venture which will take care of this project. Significance, as you all know, very important from the point of view of mains. Nothing to remember, just to understand. Addresses rising urban congestion, reduces travel time. Delhi Meerut trip cut to 60 minutes. 3 hours 60 minutes ho gaya, that means 180 se 60. Polycentric urban development, so that now Delhi will not be everyone's priority. People can live where they live, and they can come to Delhi for their office work and go back. You don't have to relocate to Delhi or nearby areas. You don't have to permanently stay there. Okay. Encourages suburban living, as I said, easing city pressure. A question was asked in the mains exam, slightly related question, not about this regional Namo Bharat scheme, but you can expect this question in 2026. National Urban Transport Policy emphasizes on moving people instead of moving vehicles. Discuss critically the success of the various strategies of the government in this regard. So I think the policy was created before 2010, and now it is not about making developing this concept of urbanization based on vehicles, but based on public transport, and to make sure that there is public equity when road transport system is used. Okay, it does not mean that anybody who has 5 cars or 6 personal vehicles, he should be given more space. And how can it be done? By promoting public transport, so that people depend less upon private vehicles. The last main news is about New Delhi Declaration, AI Impact Summit. Every time a big summit comes to an end, countries involved, in this case 87 countries, they adopted a declaration which is called New Delhi Declaration. But there are several declarations that go by the name of New Delhi Declaration. Okay, this one is related to the conclusion of AI Summit, and it has 7 pillars. Let's quickly go through. There's nothing striking that you can easily remember, but it is based on the principle of everyone's welfare and everyone's happiness, which is called Sarvajan Hitaya and Sarvajan Sukhaya. That means for everyone, Sukhaya means happiness and Hitaya means hit ke liye, for the well-being. Okay, let's quickly go through the 7 pillars. Democratizing AI resources. Okay, that means data sets, algorithms, they have to be in every country's reach. For example, DeepSeek, it is an open source model. It allows its model to be copied, unlike ChatGPT, which is actually proprietary code or algorithm which cannot be copied. So we need to have more algorithms and open source models like DeepSeeks. Economic growth and social good, okay, which is very important, and these 2 points are related. For example, human capital and economic growth. Only if we have a skilled workforce that believes in this AI-enabled economy, we can have economic growth. And for that, we need to have human capital development. Then secure and trusted AI. As you know, what happened just a few weeks ago, that Grok thing, which created cropped or morphed images, okay, something very untoward. So we have to use AI in a responsible manner. So security and trust, because we have new types of cyber challenges. AI for science. AI itself is science, but we can use AI in different scientific fields, starting from healthcare, research, nuclear power, okay. Access for social empowerment. For example, because we have a Bhasini portal, which can easily translate many Indian languages, many texts into several Indian languages. Similarly, we can also create some software for the marginalized section. For example, somebody who cannot see, visually impaired, he or she can use something like Braille script to go through a text. AI can be used for that purpose. Human capital development, already explained. Resilient, efficient, and innovative AI systems. Okay, resilient and efficient means when it comes to the compute power, it requires a lot of power. Now we need to have green data centers so that we don't rely upon fossil fuel to cater to the needs of data centers, but renewables. Okay, यही था और कुछ नहीं इसमें. There are 7 pillars. It's good for you if you can memorize all the 7 pillars. The place in the news today is Cuba, and again it's in the news because of this mounting pressure from the United States, which wants Venezuela to kick out all the Cuban professionals or personnel that are working in Venezuela. As you know, the Venezuelan president was captured by the United States, but before that, Venezuela had strong links with Cuba, because Cuba used to, supply intelligence to Venezuela, which is something that the United States is not happy with, because United States and Cuba are like arch rivals. US is democratic and capitalistic, Cuba is socialistic and communistic, you can say. And everyone knows about the infamous Cuban Missile Crisis, because Cuba was very close to USSR, okay, before the Cold War. And now also, there is this old rivalry that continues. And Cuba supplied intelligence to Venezuela, which is now under US control. But there were very less number of Cuban professionals they were working in Venezuela. US started to put pressure on Venezuela, ki ask these Cuban people to leave your country. That is why it is in the news. It is a country which is classified as one of the, you can say, Latin American countries. But it is neither a part of South America nor North America. It comes under, it's counted as one of the Caribbean nations. Caribbean Sea, as you can see, this is the location of Cuba, okay, very close to the southern United States of Florida. ये आपका हो गया Miami, Florida, okay, the southern United States, and it's very close to your Cuba. This is the country, and it's surrounded by Gulf of Mexico यहाँ पे, और यहाँ पे Atlantic Ocean, okay, and then there is this Caribbean Sea, this entire region. So maritime boundaries किसके साथ share करता है? As Florida is here, then United States, then your Haiti, Honduras. These are all North American countries. The Bahamas, Jamaica, and Mexico. ठीक है? Mexico is not visible in this part because of this map, but it must be somewhere here, because here is Gulf of Mexico, and it must be here, to its west. Okay, that's it. As I said, please try to focus on the South American map and the Caribbean region, because this year a question may be certainly asked. Let's go to the quick updates. First is IBBI Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code of India. because this is a body which looks after all the sick companies that want to go liquidation. And when a company undergoes liquidation, its assets are sold, and whatever money is received, it is distributed among the stakeholders, whoever had invested their money, their employees and everything. But many employers or promoters, they used to hide money. They used to forge their documents. And that is where the ED was not very happy, because ED is an anti-money laundering agency. It expected IBBI, it has asked IBBI to share all the details with ED, okay, so that those promoters which are into cheating and fraudulence, they can be caught. Now the question can be asked on IBBI, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, which was established under IBC 2016, okay, and it's responsible for implementation of the IBC. The IBBA regulates professionals who are called insolvency professionals as well as the process. और कुछ जानना नहीं है आपको, ठीक है? Access pass for fishing in India's exclusive economic zone, okay. This part is missing. EEZ. As you know, if this is India's coastline, which is close to 11,000 kilometers now, anything from this line, mainland, for 12 kilometers, 12 nautical miles, is your territorial waters. Anything from this baseline to 200 nautical miles, see 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers. 1 nautical mile, which is used in calculating distances over sea, is equal to 1.86 or 84 miles. So 200 nautical miles tak a country has its economic exclusive zone, okay. Because Indian fishermen, they had not explored the entire area. They would be fishing somewhere around here. But now the government has granted them passes so that they can explore these areas also, far away from the territorial waters, okay. So that way it will boost India's fish production, but there are certain environmental constraints that the fishermen have to follow. And that is why this access pass was in the news, which is a free permit, free. You don't have to pay for that. And any fishing vessel that has the permit can easily fish in the EEZ region, okay. Promote deep sea fishing transition, and mandatory for 64,000 mechanized vessels and large motorized vessels which have a length longer than 24 meters. Okay, that means close to 75 feet. Okay. Then pangolin, it is in the news because it's highly trafficked, and as per CITES, the Convention on International Trade for Endangered Species, it reveals that 5 lakh pangolins were seized between 2016 and 24 in 8 सालों में. And pangolins are actually scaly mammals. They're called also scaly anteater. Okay, scaly antleater, and there are 2 different subspecies. One is your Indian pangolin and one is Chinese pangolin. This one is endangered. The Chinese is critically endangered. C for Chinese, C for critical. Okay, and these are the only mammals covered in keratin scales. Keratin is a type of protein. Okay, and that provides them a sort of natural protection against predators. Okay, and why are they trafficked? For their meat, which is a very exotic meat and is served to royalty. The second is scales. It is believed, and many of the beliefs are actually blind superstitions. The scales have many healing properties. They can change your life and fortune. Okay, that is why they're poached. And please remember, even Chinese pangolin is found in India, in a few northeastern states, not just Indian pangolin. Okay. Next, your universal immunization program. Under UIP, India has indigenously developed 2 vaccines against your diphtheria and tetanus. Diphtheria and tetanus are both bacterial diseases. Tetanus, as you all know, bacterial, and this is diphtheria. In tetanus, it's highly fatal if it is untreated and you do not get the vaccine on time. It can create lockjaw. Your jaw will become so hard that they won't open. You'll have high fever. Then whoever has tetanus, if it's untreated, they can pass away. Diphtheria is actually a syndrome which affects your throat and upper respiratory tract, but gradually it can affect your heart. Okay, so diphtheria is common among children, but there is also another type of diphtheria which is called adult diphtheria. So India has developed vaccines for both these diseases, which is a good thing. And about UIP, a question may be asked, initially launched in 1978, but it was renamed as UIP in 1985. Okay. Now UIP covers 12 diseases, 11 across the entire country and 1 Japanese encephalitis, only regional. For vaccine against Japanese encephalitis, this is not for the entire country, only for, I think, Bihar or West Bengal. Okay. The remaining 11 vaccines are for the entire country, because all the children of a particular age range, they have to be vaccinated against the 11 deadly diseases. Fluorescent proteins, as the name fluorescent is very suggestive, that means something that emits light under certain conditions. Human body is very difficult to understand, fully understand, it's an enigma. Okay, there are many processes that take place within. Some processes they take place at such a small level that normal microscopes and CT scans, they cannot provide detailed records. For that we need very small sensors called quantum sensors. Quantum sensors. And so far we are relying upon very small diamonds. Diamond, the same stone that we use in jewelry also. But diamonds are very difficult to pass through human body. We have a better mechanism which is called using a manipulated protein. These are called fabricated proteins. Okay, and these proteins can change colors or they emit light just like bioluminescence when magnetic field changes. And as you know, there are many cells like cancer cells which have different magnetic spins. I mean, cells do not have magnetic spins, but there are elements present in cells. And whenever there is a change in the nature of the cells, quantum sensors can easily detect. Normally we use microscopes for bigger things, but something that is happening at the level of a cancer cell cannot be detected. That is why we need fluorescent proteins. It's biological macromolecules. Macromolecules means something biomolecules of large size, because proteins are actually amino acids forming chains. These are macromolecules. Okay, initially derived from jellyfish, a type of jellyfish which is called Aquaria victoria, and corals. So this will actually help us scan the body better. And 2008 Nobel Prize was awarded in chemistry, not in medicine, for the discovery of green fluorescent proteins. Okay. Then this important piece of news, which is actually good for the entire nation. Boong, a Manipuri film, won BAFTA award in the category of children and family. Okay, and this is the first time such a film has been awarded. For the first time, an Indian film has been awarded this award. Okay, let's know about BAFTA. It is the British equivalent of Academy Awards. What you call Oscars, no? Oscars are in the United States of America. BAFTA is Britain, not just England. Okay, so it was established in 1947 in the UK. Honors excellence in film, television, games, and children's media. So Boong film, I think it was about a child who re-establishes his or her relationship with his family in a conflict-ridden Manipur, which happened recently, and it's still dormant, but anytime things can worsen. Winter Olympics concluded, the 25th Winter Olympics, okay, normally written in Roman numerals. 25th Winter Olympics concluded in Italy, because Winter Olympics, always the venue is chosen where there is plenty of ice or snow. So this time it was northern Italy, close to the Alps. The next year it's going to be, next edition of Winter Olympics will be held in the French Alps. This time it was Italy, next time it will be France. Okay, and Norway received the highest number of medals, followed by United States and then Netherlands. You don't need to remember all the names, just remember Norway. It can be asked, because these days sports-based questions are being asked in prelims exam. So we have reached the end. Now try to make the most of our digital current affairs. And now 6 questions will appear on the screen. Do take them. Wish you all the very best.